Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea, a channel for marriage-minded men. I married a woman from the Philippines back in 2015, so it's been a little over 10 years now that we've been married, and I like to make videos about marriage, something fewer people seem to be interested in today. This is going to be about why do you want to be married? Now, this is going to come from an article from Psychology Today from somebody named, where did her name go? Teresa E. Dinonato. And it's called the 6 Reasons People Want to Be in a Relationship. So she's saying there are 6, but not everyone has the same motives for pursuing love. So there's a big difference between a marriage, just a relationship, and love. So there's just way more in here than I could talk about in one video for sure. Personally, I think when somebody truly understands the meaning of the word love, they ought to think long and hard about getting into a relationship in the first place, because it takes a certain maturity, and you hang in there, you will gain some of that maturity as you get going. But just because somebody gets into a relationship for whatever reason, they want one, does not mean it's going to last. So they say, why do people want romantic relationships if they do at all? The world today operates with a strong bias toward people being in, not out, of relationships. Think table for two. A component of this bias is a presumption that if you're not in a relationship that you want to be. How do we understand this assumption? To what degree is it accurate? What does wanting a relationship even mean? There's more than one way to want a relationship, as I quote here from Psychology Today, and I'll add my own thoughts. Depending on your starting point, you might have a crystal clear idea of what it means to want a relationship, or a very fuzzy general notion. Maybe you see it as an attachment drive or a biological imperative. Maybe you see it as a social requirement or something to validate your own self-worth. Not a good idea to me. What's critical is this: our own reasons for wanting or not wanting a relationship may not apply to other people. This suggests there is a definable scope of reasons why people pursue relationships. They point out that some scholars proposed and tested the idea that relationship motivations range from autonomous, meaning coming from the self, to external, coming from outside the self. And this full range of reasons can be captured in one model. 6 motivations capture why people want relationships. And here they are. Intrinsic motives. And by the way, please subscribe and leave a comment here on Love Beyond the Sea. Intrinsic motives. People often endorse intrinsic motives for wanting a relationship, suggesting they enter relationships because they enjoy them and find pleasure in them. People who more strongly report intrinsic motives also tend to show readiness to enter a committed relationship and low attachment avoidance. In my case, I only thought I would like to have a relationship. It's not like I had 5, 6, 7 relationships and ooh, I wanted another one. No, I just figured it would be a good thing, but it wasn't really from experience. They list external motives, are other people's voices in your head when you think about wanting a relationship. Would it please your friends or family? Some people pursue a relationship largely because they believe other people want them to be in a relationship. I get accused of this sometimes for telling people they should all get married, but I do have this caveat that if you're someone that God has given the spiritual gift of singleness, which is the ability to be single, that means live without sex. It's not a lustful, frustrating experience for you. Then by all means, it's okay for you to be single. People that have that gift tend to want to live very altruistic lifestyles of, serving other people. But I would say it's never a good thing to get married because, somebody did or everybody else does or they want you to. You need to find out what God is calling you to do. For most people, it's getting married. If you read 1 Corinthians 7, and there's a little part there about those that can be single, but again, they are called to it because they are gifted to it, like the Apostle Paul was. Moving on to identified motives. One autonomous motivation for being in a relationship is that doing so aligns with one's value system, and or they find relationships meaningful. People who hold these motives tend to have strong relationship readiness, low avoidance, and a fairly strong fear of being single. A fairly strong fear of being single. Okay, well, that kind of identifies me there. My motivation, my value system was, as I just explained, what the Bible says I should do, because the Bible is the book of wisdom. And so I struggled for many years, not wanting to give up, not wanting to listen to people say, why do you want to be married so bad? Singleness is better. You get all these troubles potentially in marriage, and that wasn't going to knock me off my course. I wanted to get married. I waited and waited and waited, looked and looked and looked, prayed and prayed and prayed. Finally got married about 10 years ago. I had to go to the Philippines, and we're still married. My wife will be home in a couple hours or so, and about 11:30 here at night, and we're going to watch some TV, find a good movie before we go to bed. And man, I never could do that in decades before I got married. Have somebody to count on like that. It takes a lot of anxiety away, I think, if you are married. And for those people that believe they should get married because of this, their value system, well, you'll have to find somebody else that shares that same value system. Another one here, reason to get married or be in a romantic relationship, positive introjected. I have to explain that one. Might being in a relationship make you proud or improve your self-esteem? People with strong positive introjected motivations tend to be higher in attachment anxiety and a fear of being single, but they also show strong readiness for commitment. Does that describe you? Personally, I never thought about marrying for self-esteem. I guess I felt for many years that it was the right thing for me to do, and I don't know. I can't relate to that personally, but people tend to find themselves in one of these categories. There's also negative introjected. For some people, they explain here in this Psychology Today article, especially those with higher attachment anxiety, being in a relationship is a way to avoid attributing a variety of negative attributes to the self. For these individuals, to be in a relationship is a way to prove that you're not a failure, you're not a loser. It's not a surprise that people who endorse this motive more strongly also tend to have a stronger fear of being single. For me, I guess you could say I had a fear of being single or never marrying was mine. But it wasn't because I would feel like a loser if I couldn't get married. I felt like I would have not accomplished what I was called to do, like most people. But when you think about it, not everybody can get married at the same age, that they want to. For some, it's easy. For others, as you know, you wonder if it's ever going to happen. And if you're a Christian like I am, pray, because God invented marriage. And he wants, I think, most people to get married, but you need to count the cost because it's not always easy. The last one here before I run out of time is called, I think you pronounce it, amotivation. Some people are not motivated to be in a relationship. They might see that others are, but they don't see any reasons as applying to themselves. Accordingly, people who report little motivation to be in a relationship also tend to be low on fear of being single, low on romantic desire, and low on communal orientation. I think today there's a lot of people that aren't motivated to be in a relationship because they're listening to other people's negative experiences of being in a relationship, and they've adopted them as their own, and their fears are that what happened to these other people will happen to them. But if that's your perspective, then you'll never enjoy being able to get married and the good that comes with it. So please leave a comment here on Love Beyond the Sea.